This is Monday night, and I feel alright. We're gonna go live. We are live. Monday night was not gonna go live tonight, but hey, I figured we got just technically one more year of football, or one more week of football left until the official offseason, NFL offseason begins. Even though the Packers offseason has been going on for a week, there's been a lot of news. So we'll see if any of you guys tune in. It could be interesting seeing what kind of crowd we gather on this Monday night with the season officially being over. I'm not able to connect to chat though. If you guys can chat down below or off to the side, that way I know whether or not my chat screen is working. Will be a complete mystery to me. But like I said, a lot of news popped up throughout this last week of Packers off season, and Mike Pettine's going to be sticking around a little bit longer. Jimmy Graham, maybe not so much from the sounds of it. Blake Martinez, maybe not so much. We had some Packers in the Pro Bowl that played on Sunday, and then a passing of an NBA icon as well, which is obviously taking over the entire sporting news. But let me see. I don't know why I can't get. Is this working? We'll type. Is this working? Is this working? Is this working? I got 4 viewers. Maybe none of you guys want to talk, and that's perfectly okay because I can just chat for a little bit. Call it a 20-minute session of throughout the week. Give you some of my updates, some of my thoughts on Packers news, and then if I can't chat with you guys, well, that's pretty much essentially how this is going to go. But yeah, so big headline coming out of the week is that Matt LaFleur had his season-ending press conference, kind of recapping the season. Then Brian Gutekunst had like a novel of a press conference about midweek where he broke down the season and kind of what he sees. He talked about Aaron Rodgers and the season that he had, and he's excited about the relationship between him and Matt LaFleur budding. He's very aware of some of the positions that he needs to fill out throughout the offseason and free agency, draft, and whatnot. Because it feels like we're so very close to taking that next step as far as our season. And I got 80 of you guys in here, and I'm still not seeing any comments coming through. So I'm not sure why that's not working. That's completely disappointing. What if I pop it out? If I do pop out chat, well, there it is. Did a little pop out chat. We got King Smooth in the house. And Trayvon Holloway, that was tragic. I assume you're talking about the Kobe Bryant thing. Now, guys, I don't know. I know a lot of you guys don't follow me on Facebook, and that's perfectly fine. I'm not very active in social media. It's definitely something that I need to work on. But Kobe Bryant, to me, easily one of my top 3 probably favorite athletes of all time. My entire childhood and my love for sports was shaped around watching him and Shaquille O'Neal go to battle, get the three-peat in the early 2000s. I used to just, I've gotten messages from old friends from high school, or not from high school, from elementary school, that remember me being just a crazy diehard Lakers fan. And I was totally jumping on the bandwagon back in those days because the Milwaukee Bucks were nothing to be writing home about. They might have had Ray Allen at one point. And then you look at the Timberwolves, which are not too far to the west of me. They had Kevin Garnett, which my brother was a huge Timberwolves fan. But I jumped on the bandwagon with Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant. And I just absolutely tragic what happened with him and his family and everything that they're going through. There's not really any words. There's been some really cool videos out there, just kind of a tribute to his life and everything that came with it. But my heart goes out to his wife and everything that came with that. I don't want to bring down the podcast, and I don't want to dwell on this too much because it is a football podcast. But he is definitely one of those players that transcended sports, and what he was able to do to affect so many people's lives is absolutely phenomenal. So I won't spend too much time on that. I will tell a story just let you know how diehard of a Packers fan, or excuse me, of a Kobe Bryant and Lakers fan I was. When I was in like 6th or 7th grade, I was messing around on my 4-wheeler, and I had it in reverse, and I was pulling out of my neighbor's driveway, had it kicked down and reversed. I was going probably about 20, 30 miles backwards, trying to be funny. And I was heading for a mailbox, and I turned the steering wheel quick, flew off, hit head first on the concrete, and the four-wheeler rolled, but it landed on its tires. So when I got up, like, screaming for help because I was in so much pain and disoriented, my neighbor thought I was kidding because the four-wheeler was perfectly fine. I'm kind of a smart-ass type of guy. So anyway, I eventually collapsed. I had a concussion. The ambulance shows up. They have to cut my pants. And underneath my pants, because that's the kind of nerd I was, underneath my pants that I was wearing, I had my Lakers shorts on. And I would wear my Lakers shorts on game day. This was like in May. It was like playoff time. And I had one request for the ambulance when they cut my pants was do not cut my Lakers shorts. That's how diehard I was. And it was shocking. I found out through Facebook. I didn't want to believe it at first. I wanted to wait till an ESPN report came out or something more concrete, and eventually it happened. So rest in peace, Kobe. I mean, this won't be the end of hearing about you and talking about you and all the great things that come with it. I don't know. I just want to. He was a big part of my life, so I want to start the podcast on that one 100%. So. Kind of diving into these questions as the crowd rolls on, and I got myself some chat going on, and finally somehow I had to do a pop-out chat and get you guys in here so I could read your comments. The topic of Mike Pettine comes up, and I'll jump on that one right away. I'm a huge fan of having Mike Pettine stick around one more year. There's a lot of movement going on within this Packers organization over the last year. I mean, the offense. They started to figure it out and kind of start to click here and there later on in the season under the first year of Matt LaFleur. It's the sky's the limit for what this offense can do with another off season, with another with more time between Aaron and Matt LaFleur by adding offensive weapons across the board. This was Mike Pettine's second season. There was a huge improvement from his first season to his second season, and I think I even took a snapshot somewhere over the last couple days that talked about the Packers defense. So their 2019 defensive team grade throughout the regular season, they were the 8th ranked defense in the regular season. 4th in the pass rushing, 7th in coverage, and then obviously 25th was the Achilles heels in that run defense. So overall, I mean, being a top 10 defense is what we had out of that Packers group under Mike Pettine last year, and that says a lot. I mean, that's not the type of defense that you let go, a defensive coordinator that you let go and try to rebuild this defense completely. They were so close. They had, obviously, the running game was a huge issue. That's something that they need to address and will address throughout the offseason, but I didn't think that it would cost Mike Pettine his job. I wouldn't have been surprised if it did, but I stick to my guns on this one. I think Mike Pettine is a great coach. I think giving him another season with Za'Darius and Preston and Amos and Jair and probably Kevin King comes back and Clark, they're going to sign him to a contract extension or a contract very soon. Add some pieces into this, and I don't have any doubts that Mike Pettine will do what he needs to do to get this defense over the top, I guess you could say, and keep us in games so we're not in 27-3 deficits at halftime in the NFC Championship game. That's where he gets the most of this heat. Obviously, that was not the performance that we wanted to see in the NFC Championship game a little over a week ago, but I don't think that's worth kind of just erasing the slat, starting over, and getting a new defensive coordinator. I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense. Now, if they do have a lot of the same problems this upcoming season and the defense can't help get this team over the top, then I think you start to look at different defensive coordinators. That would have been his 3rd full season in Green Bay, and the writing would be on the wall at that point. But I'm not upset with it. I'm perfectly okay with keeping Mike Pettine. I'll say it again. I think he's a great coach, and we should all just kind of hop on board. I mean, he's not going anywhere, so hop on board, support the guy, and let's get that defense. Let's get that defense where it needs to be. The Pro Bowl is a complete waste of time, but I love the celebration from our guys showing respect to Kobe Bryant. Yeah, the Pro Bowl is a complete waste of time. It was such a waste of time that I actually found myself watching more of ESPN2, where they had the Kobe Bryant news versus the Pro Bowl. A lot of, reaching out, hand tackling crap that isn't really, they're calling plays dead. I mean, let's talk about 3 Packers who did make the Pro Bowl. Devontae Adams, Kenny Clark, and then the snubbed guy of all snubbed guys, of course, Darius Smith made himself a Pro Bowl appearance. All those guys looked like they were enjoying themselves. It was nice to see Darius. He ended up with 2 sacks on the stat sheet on the day, and then when he got that sack, he did this little Kobe Bryant kind of celebration with a couple other guys. You could tell that defense was not used to Zadarius Smith and his celebrations. And then Adams had himself 2 touchdowns on the day, but like you said, it's a complete waste of time. It's a damn shame that they can't figure out how to have a competitive football game. I think that they should just go ahead and make it flag football. I think that would be a lot more entertaining to watch than them pretending to tackle and tackling soft and calling plays dead and all that. Probably the biggest piece of news that came out of that Pro Bowl game was the fact that they decided to experiment with instead of an onside kick, the offense gets the ball with a 4th and 15 scenario, and if they convert on 4th and 15, they get the ball back. I don't know how many of you guys watched the game. I don't know how many of you people saw that, but I think that was probably one of the cooler moments. And of course, Kirk Cousins was the quarterback in this scenario and just throws this a freaking 50-yard bomb to nowhere. So thank you, Kirk, for that. But I think that's a pretty cool idea, a cool implementation. I mean, we're going to have the XFL launching here very soon, and they have all sorts of different rules on how they handle points after touchdowns and onside kicks and just the overall play of the game. If the NFL were to adopt this 4th and 15 rule instead of onside kicks, that could make games a lot more fun, a lot more interesting. I mean, especially when you have a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who's more than capable of picking up 4th and 15. That at that point, you could truly say, you look at the San Francisco game, you could go for 4th and 15 after every one of those touchdowns, and that game becomes a lot more closer than trying to have Mason Crosby, kick an onside kick, because those never happen. Unless it's the Atlanta Falcons on Thanksgiving night, those games never happen. So, yeah, Pro Bowl's over, Super Bowl's next, and then the season is officially over. I mean, 1 week from now, season will be over. And by the way, for you guys viewing right now, I will do the canvas drawing. I'm going to go live next Monday night. We'll hang out together, and we will draw for the winner on the canvas. Regardless, I've accepted the fact that I will not hit 1,000 subscribers this season. I am okay with that. In fact, I have lost 3 over the last couple of days. I am not okay with that. I'm not a big fan of losing subscribers, but I guess I will have to earn them back once the season gets rolling again, and I can go full time, and I'm not kind of taking a little bit of a break from this. But drawing will be next week, 100%. Maverick Jordan wants to know, did I hear about Antonio Brown? Well, Antonio Brown took up most of the NFL news throughout the entire year, so I've heard every story. I've heard every account. I've heard what happened. I heard him going to jail. I'm so glad he didn't make his way to Green. That poor guy. I mean, I gotta be careful what I say because this goes all over the internet, and I don't want to be negatively viral anytime soon. But he has serious mental health issues, and he needs some help. And I don't know if he ever has a career in the NFL again. It's the sad reality of the situation because he has a lot of talent, but just mentally he's not there. He doesn't really think a whole lot before he acts, and it's gotten him into trouble. And it is what it is. But I'm glad that the Packers did not decide to roll the dice with him at any point. I'm glad that things just didn't end up going down that path, and good luck to him. I mean, like I said, he's got kind of a rough future ahead of him. I don't know if he can turn around. I'd never throw in the towel. A lot of these guys can turn around, but he has some serious mental issues, and I just don't think it's going to work out for his NFL career. King Smooth says, I also am a diehard Lakers fan, a huge Kobe fan. I played ball and yelled Kobe today after every shot. Yeah, that is probably one of the greatest things to come from his career, just in a general population standpoint. The old Kobe lofted it, and especially like when you think of what's that Ben Stiller movie? Man, the name is escaping me. But they had the scene with Philip Seymour Hoffman, and they're playing basketball outside, and he goes Kobe, and he's just breaking it off the backboard. That's one of the funnier moments in comedy that all came from the old Kobe Bryant. So. Right up there with you. Sad day for that. Melanie tuned in. What's up, Melanie? Thank you for tuning in. Number one Pack says, why can't we run any trick plays like Devontae Adams did in the Pro Bowl? That guy looks like he got an arm on him. I think we will look into a lot of different things. So coming out of Matt LaFleur's press conference last week, and a little bit of the wrap-up from Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Aaron Rodgers says the window's open. Aaron Rodgers has full confidence in the front office. Brian Gutekunst, Russ Ball, Matt LaFleur to bring in the talent that they need to. He stressed once again this feels a lot different from their loss back in 2016 against the Atlanta Falcons. He feels like this team is so very close, and just adding a couple more pieces will be the difference. And I think one thing that we'll see from an offensive standpoint is, we can maybe start to explore the option of more trick plays because players will be comfortable in Matt LaFleur's system. You want to try and, for the most part, they kept their offense pretty vanilla throughout the entire year. There wasn't a whole lot of flashiness across the board anywhere, but as far as those trick plays were concerned, there just weren't trick plays anywhere to be seen. But they talk about the increase in tempo, and that's going to be something that really maybe comes back around as we approach this upcoming season and what the offense can look like. There was a lot of talk before the season started that they would run up to the line of scrimmage, snap the ball quick, and catch defenses off guards, but we did not see that. I can't really recall seeing that at all throughout the season, but if we saw it, it was on a very limited fashion, and they might have thrown that away with the bathwater, with the baby in it, whatever that saying is. There will be changes. Give it another offseason. We can implement some trick plays. If Devonta Adams shows that he can throw a ball like that, I don't know why you wouldn't use that as a trick play. And then outside of that, I just want to see more energy, more urgency. It was preached all throughout the year, and I think that's definitely something that's going to be on the horizon for sure. Melanie wants to win the picture, so I will describe that on I'll post a video on Friday describing how anyone wants to get entered. Obviously, you need to subscribe, but I want comments on the video on Friday's video. It's going to be a real short one, recapping the season, and then just you have to throw your name in the hat as far as a drawing. Because next Monday I'll have something on the screen where it'll be a live. I'll enter everybody's name in, and it'll pick a winner, and then we'll get that all passed out for the canvas. And then Melanie also wants to know, is it true about Jimmy Graham leaving the Packers? Well, I can't find any confirmed reports about Jimmy Graham leaving the Packers. Now, he had that ominous post last week. I think I got it in here somewhere. Well, there. Nope. I don't have it in there somewhere. So he posted on Twitter or Instagram last week that thank you for all the support, and it sounded like he was going to retire. And then reports came out late this week, or I guess it's Monday, so late last week, that Packers would be moving on from Jimmy Graham, and it's not too big of a surprise with him. And then you look at a guy like Lane Taylor as well. So Lane Taylor got his starting position taken away from him by good old Elton Jenkins, and he doesn't seem like the type of player that you're going to be paying, multiple millions of dollars to keep on that offensive line. So it looks like the Packers could be moving on from Graham and Lane Taylor. By moving on from both of those guys, you would free up essentially $12 million plus in cap space, which allows you to maybe go out there and find a true number 2 wide receiver in free agency, and maybe find a linebacker, maybe find another run-stuffing defensive lineman. These are all major concerns and major needs throughout that Packers roster. But I think the ability to release Graham, release Lane Taylor, open up that cap space. You have to sign Clark. You definitely have to get him re-signed and on board for another 4, 5, 6 years. And that has to be the talk about Jimmy Graham and Lane Taylor. And then the comment coming in from Maverick, what about Blake Martinez? Well, indications are that Blake Martinez will shop free agency as well, which obviously, if you're not new to this show, which I imagine you guys, my faithful viewers, are not new to this, I love Blake Martinez. I would love to see Blake Martinez come back. But rumors are that he's looking for anywhere from a $10 to $13, $14 million a year contract. And as much as I love you, Blake, I don't think I can justify paying you $10 million a year. I don't think you're that type of talented when it comes to the linebacking group. I think you're more of like a $7 million type of player, maybe an $8 million, but you're pushing it a little bit with what you're liking. So he's going to apparently test out the free agency market. Maybe there'll be something out there for him. I'll be obviously disappointed to see him in another color or uniform other than the green and gold. But there will be changes. There will be shifting all along this roster. And if I can get this dang thing to flash up again, because I wanted to show you guys some of this stuff. Nope, that's not it. There we go. So we look at our free agents again. I brought this up last week. I think you got to look at bringing back Brian Bulaga. And Gutekunst in his press conference this week made it sound like Mason Crosby and Brian Bulaga were high priority players that they wanted to bring back for another year. Gmo is one of those guys that's right on the bubble there. And then there's a number of these guys that kind of got split up that were re-signed. There weren't big contracts for a lot of these names. Mercedes Lewis at tight end, that definitely is a name and a person that I'd like to see pop back up on the roster, at least for one more year. Tremont Williams is another name that I'd like to see pop up on that roster. Alan Lazard will be back. Robert Tonyan should be back. I mean, we can carry a 90-man roster throughout the entire offseason. So I say let these guys go to work, build up that roster. They brought in some talent at wide receiver as far as from two players from a player from the Canadian League. They brought up one player from the Canadian League that could potentially show flashes, but I think they use some of this cap space to go out there and find themselves a true number 2 wide receiver. Jay Sternberger steps up behind Jimmy Graham and what he was being able to do this year and gets more of an active role in our offense. I think that would be a huge just a difference maker for him to play a part of that. And this team will look different. It's the reality of the situation. It's bound to happen from year to year. One thing is certain, Aaron Jones will be around. Aaron Rodgers will be around. Devontae Adams will be around. The Smith Bros, Kenny Clark, Amos, Savage, Alexander. There's a lot of talent all over. I mean, Bakhtiari. Do you want me to list all the players? I'm not going to list all the players, but there will be enough talent and a lot of good players still part of this nucleus. It'll be a fun stretch of free agency to kind of see what comes of that. And really, I think, what was it? The draft starts April 23rd, so it was just, 4 days ago. We were 3 months away, so we're less than 3 months away from the NFL draft, and that will be right around the corner. So I've been talking for about 22 minutes. I didn't know how long of a series I wanted this to be, or the show tonight. But yeah, go ahead and comment in the section. I'll answer some questions. I'll hang around for as long as the questions keep coming in, and I'll continue to hang out. Take a drink, hang out. Ozzy says Blake Martinez has a decently nice butt. What's your opinion? I agree. The guy is a stud. Blake Martinez, and again, he teared up after that last game, and they interviewed him in his locker room, and he got emotional. He wants to be back at Green Bay. But yeah, good-looking guy. I don't necessarily always stare at his butt. I'm usually looking at, his tackling abilities, but you know how that goes. Alrighty then. Like I said, go ahead and comment away. Otherwise, I'm going to run out of things to talk about. What else happened in Packerland this week? There's not a whole lot else that happened in Packerland this week. We can talk about, let's see here. Hang tight, guys. I know there's an article in here. Where is it? I thought I could have swore I had my list of the 10 players that the Packers signed to their practice squad, but I can't find it anywhere. I got nothing. There it is. So here's our confirmed 10 men that were signed to the practice squad. We have ourselves tight end Evan Bayless, outside tackle Cody Conway. We got another running back, Crockett, tight end Looney, cornerback Ento, outside linebacker Ramsey. You have Darius Shepard coming back at wide receiver. You'll remember him from the preseason. Malik Taylor at wide receiver. They're bringing back quarterback Manny Wilkins, who had himself a good amount of playing time in the preseason as well. And then outside linebacker Tim Williams. So that's just a couple names that they at least signed to the practice squad for future deals, or from the practice squad to future deals. But let's hit back up to these questions because I literally don't want to dive through us. I need more news articles. Let's see. The Pro game was a good game. Maverick wants to know, where do you think Tom Brady is going? That's a radical, unknown question. I don't think... Okay, so I'll say this about Tom Brady. I don't think he goes back to New England. I think all indications and reports coming out of Foxborough or Massachusetts, Boston, wherever you want to label Tom Brady and where he lives... I don't think he ends back up in New England. I think it's the end of a dynasty for sure for the Patriots. Obviously, there are some strings that would pull him back to New England just because of the fan base and the loyalty, and he's spent his whole career there. I think that I think it's down to two places. I think he either goes to Las Vegas, which Derek Carr is putting the axe on that. He doesn't believe that he's going to be giving up his starting position or that they will be moving on from him anytime soon. But I think the possibility of a John Gruden and Tom Brady matchup could be a real thing. And then the other name that pops out there, of course, the San Diego Chargers have to come to mind. They have announced, or at least reports are indicating that they are moving on from Phillip Rivers. He will be a free agent. He will no longer be the quarterback of the Los Angeles Chargers. So where else could Tom Brady go from Boston out to LA and be part of some, California lifestyle for the last 2 years of his career, however long he decides to play. That team, the Chargers, were a very solid, well-rounded team this last season. Obviously, they beat the Packers, one of our 3 losses throughout the regular season. But you add a guy like Tom Brady at quarterback, and they could have a very good team, especially in the AFC conference. I mean, you're in the same conference, obviously, as the Chiefs, which would be a lot of fun. You'd have Tom Brady versus Patrick Mahomes twice a year. You face the Raiders. And then you have the Denver Broncos. So that's kind of where if I had to put money on it, which I'm not a gambling man by any stretch of the imagination, but I think Tom Brady finds himself out in the Chargers. But from the sounds of it, could be either of these AFC West teams. Don't think he's ever going to find his way back to New England, though. I think that ship has sailed. He's closed the book. He's moving on. And he wants to get paid. Quite frankly, the guy has taken pay cuts for the last couple of years so New England can continue to build talent all around him. And it's worked out really well for him. They've won a couple Super Bowls throughout Tom Brady's career out there in New England. But at this point, you could just you saw the frustration in Tom Brady this last year because he wasn't getting paid. The team wasn't performing up to its expectations. They had an exit in the wild card of the playoffs, which is not a thing that Tom Brady and Bill Belichick do. He wants to go somewhere. He wants to get a paycheck. I expect him to get paid a whole lot of money. And whether or not he's chasing Super Bowls, well, that's yet to be determined. But he's at least going to cash in on his name and what he can bring to the quarterback room wherever he ends up going. So that's my opinions on good old Tom Brady. Ozzy wants to know, didn't their chicken nuggets go flying north-south way to the east? And how many weenies were there? You are on a whole other level. And I'm going to continue to ignore you from this movement forward. Melanie says, who do you want to win the Super Bowl? Well, I am of the mindset that I would like the Kansas City Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. Now, I don't know how realistic that is, but I will be cheering for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Just the fact that, I don't think San Francisco deserves it. They came off of they had the offseason. Well, let me back up. Here's why I don't think San Francisco deserves it. Last year, they lose Jimmy Garoppolo to an injury. They essentially tank the entire season. They end up with the 2nd overall pick in the NFL draft. They go out there and sign Bosa. They draft Bosa. Garoppolo comes back healthy. Kittle turns into an absolute machine. And they go from one of the worst teams in the NFL to into the Super Bowl. It's a great Cinderella story, but I'm still a little bit sour. The teams that always end up beating Green Bay, I usually don't like to root for them. I know that it can go 50-50 with some people. You want to support the team that defeated your team. I'm of the mindset, if they defeated us, I'm going to have the other team just go out there and kick their ass because I don't want to cheer for them whatsoever. So I don't think that San Francisco deserves it. I think I want to see Kansas City, who has gotten so close the last year or two with Patrick Mahomes. He didn't have to climb over that Tom Brady mountain this year like he did last year. And I would like to see the Chiefs finally get Andy Reid. I mean, notoriously known for not showing up in the playoffs. I'd like to see him go out there. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's going to be one hell of a battle of a game. And you have a really good defense, an extraordinary defense from the San Francisco 49ers with all the talent that they have on their roster. And then you look at the other side of the ball, you look at the offense of Kansas City, and there's so many offensive weapons, and Patrick Mahomes and his ability to go through that injury this season and still make a run in the playoffs. They were down 24-0 against Houston and came back and absolutely blew them out. At any point throughout that game, Kansas City can get hot and be really interesting. I mean, San Francisco has struggled this season. The two games that they struggled the most this year, outside, I mean, they lost one of them, but they really struggled against the Seattle Seahawks. And the Seahawks weren't an overly talented football team for most of the year. But Russell Wilson and his ability to be mobile and get out of the pocket and make things happen, extend plays in his arm and throw the ball downfield, well, that's the same category that you find yourself with Patrick Mahomes and that Kansas City team. I think that they have more offensive talent than the Seahawks do. I think that offense will definitely make it. I mean, let's just put it this way. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to have to throw the football. He's not going to be able to depend on running the ball, or the San Francisco can't just run the ball the entire game and rack up points. They're going to have, it's going to be a shootout, if anything, and they're going to have to score some points. It's not going to be that simple. So I have Kansas City winning it. I want Kansas City to win it, but I do think it'll be a close game, or could potentially be a close game with how good the San Francisco 49ers defense is. So yeah, there's my Super Bowl prediction. Are you excited about the Vegas Raiders? I'm very excited. I'm currently playing around with the idea of making my very first trip to Las Vegas here in the next 2 months. Actually, it'd be probably about a month and a half. Well, the end of March, so 2 months away. I think that's a very cool city to have a professional sports team with the betting that goes on there, the gambling, the Sin City nature of it all. There's no better organization that belongs in Vegas than the Oakland Raiders and their fan base. So I'm very excited to see how that goes. I think their stadium is an absolutely just horrendous looking piece of architecture, but what do I know? I never studied architecture. The most architecture I've ever studied was from How I Met Your Mother. So you don't take my word or my opinion too much on that. But yeah, it'll be a lot of fun, and especially if the Vegas Raiders open up their first season with Tom Brady as their quarterback. Shit's gonna get nuts out there in Las Vegas, and the NFL will definitely be thrown on its head. Wouldn't that be fun? I'm just kind of thinking of that right now. That'd be a lot of fun. What do I think about Tom Brady to the Browns? I don't think it's going to happen. From the sounds of it, the Minnesota, their new head coach, his name's escaping me. They pulled him over from the Minnesota Vikings. He I think, sees a lot of potential in Baker Mayfield. I am not throwing in the towel on Baker Mayfield. I think that he has a lot of the raw capabilities. I think Freddie Kitchens was just not a solid choice from that front office of the Browns, and obviously people lost their jobs because they went on board with that. I think that they will definitely give Baker another year to prove himself, and maybe another 2 years to prove himself. I think the guy can go out there, he can play. He has a Brett Favre type of charismatic energy to him, where he just slings the ball and he loves winning and he loves the game and the sport and everything like that. So I'm not saying he's Brett Favre, so calm down, everybody. But I do think that he's a guy that you just can't throw the towel on throw the towel in on too soon. It'd be way too soon. So I'm going to stick to I don't see Tom Brady going to the Browns. Absolutely not. Unless Belichick goes to the Browns, which that's not happening either, because we all know that he came from the Browns many years ago. Melanie wants to know, I was wondering if you were for the Kansas City Chiefs. That's who I'm hoping for. That's who I'm hoping for, Melanie, 100%. Do you think Allen Lazard can have a breakout year? This one's from AO Tall Thing. Allen Lazard, that's going to be one hell of an X factor for this offseason on what type of offseason he has and how he looks coming back. I think the best thing that can happen for Allen Lazard is that the Packers go out there and find a number 2 wide receiver. Allen Lazard is not the number 2 wide receiver. I don't see him as that. I think he has the skill set and the ability to make big catches when big catches are needed. But I see Allen Lazard succeeding more in the wide receiver 3 spot than the wide receiver 2. I think that would take a lot of pressure off him. I think that would allow him to go out there and just ball it up. And I think that would be the biggest advantage to happen to Allen Lazard. So is he due for a breakout year? Well, that's all going to depend on what happens in the offseason. I don't necessarily think that he's a 1,000-yard receiver, and 10 touchdowns type of receiver. That's what I would consider a breakout year for any wide receiver, is to have double digits in touchdowns and 4 digits in receiving yards. Maybe it will happen. Maybe it will surprise me. But I don't think. I think just another solid 8 touchdown year with 700 receiving yards would be a solid performance. And if that's what you're considering for a breakout year, then yes, he should have a breakout season. I see him being more of an active role in the offense next year, but there's a lot of time between now and the beginning of training camp next year. So things can happen. Things can definitely happen. More shout-outs going to Kobe Bryant. Rest in peace, Kobe. Like I said, I started out my broadcast talking about some of my stories of Kobe Bryant. Absolutely huge Kobe Bryant fan. And, yeah, rest in peace, Kobe. You're definitely going to be missed. Prayers for your family, dude. I'll say it over and over throughout this broadcast. Prayers to your family. Comments, Snipes? We need more offensive linemen. That's definitely an area. I mean, there's 3 areas of concern as I look at this roster. We talk about wide receiver. We got to find a true number 2 wide receiver. We look at linebacker. If Blake Martinez is going away, and yes, he might not have been the answer long term or by any means, but we got to find ourselves a linebacker, inside linebacker that is going to be, blocking the offensive line, defensive line, stuff in the defensive line, offensive line, and is a hard hitter and is all over the field. So we definitely need to find ourselves some sort of linebacker to replace Blake Martinez. And then, yes, we have to figure out offensive linemen because if we decide to move on from Lane Taylor, there's not a ton of depth along that offensive line that we can really rely on. And Bulaga, I could have swore heading into this season that this would have been Brian Bulaga's last year. I'm hopeful that we can bring him around for another season and he can stay healthy like he did for most this year on that offensive line. But outside of that, I mean, you got to start preparing for that offensive tackle. I think you got to find a replacement to Bulaga because Alex Light really didn't seem like he would be that guy unless he continues to grow year over year. I think you're fine with Bakhtiari in his position. I think you're fine with Jenkins, obviously, in his position. We have talent behind the center in case Corey Linsley ever goes down, and then Billy Turner is going to be signed for the next 3 years. So I'm looking at that offensive tackle position, and then I'm looking at somebody that can just kind of fill in where needed in case Bakhtiari misses any time, in case any of those other guys miss any time. Offensive lineman, wide receiver, inside linebacker. That's what that draft board has to look like. That's what our needs at free agency have to look at. And that's definitely, I'm right there with you. I'm not disagreeing with the offensive lineman, but it's not the only position that we have to worry about. So yeah, I'm going to probably 37 minutes in, 5 of you guys hanging out with me. I appreciate you guys doing that. Like I said, I will post a video. I'll keep it short and sweet on Friday. Just kind of doing a quick recap of the year, maybe give you my Super Bowl prediction, my score predictions for that. And then on that video, make sure you comment down below at least your name for the canvas. We will do the drawing next Monday night for our canvas, and we will see how that goes. Snippets wants to talk about expanding our secondary as well. Well, I love what we have at safety. I think that the Amos and Savage relationship can only improve and only get better. I love what we have with, obviously, Jair Alexander. Kevin King is coming up. I think he has 1 more year left on his contract. And if he plays the whole season, 2020 season, like he played like the last 3 or 4 weeks of last year, I think there's a lot of hope to be had for what Kevin King can do. And he could possibly be going out there and earning himself a big contract. And hopefully it doesn't shape out like it did with Nick Perry, where he had that just explosion of a contract year, and we paid him all this stupid, ridiculous amount of money, and then he did not pan out to be anything good whatsoever. So that's my fear with Kevin King, but if he can give us 1 solid year, that'd be awesome. But yeah, we could very well be losing Tramon Williams. We have Kadar Holman, which I'm not very high on. We need to find some depth on that cornerback position in our secondary, but I do like what we have as far as our safety position goes. So yeah, I want to answer that one real quick because it seems like there's some concern across the board, but I don't think there's as many problems across the board as possible. Tight end, I'm not worried about. You guys want to talk about tight ends? I'm honestly not worried about. I think that we do bring Mercedes Lewis back for 1 more year. He adds that veteran stability. I think you have talent in Robert Tonyan. I think you have talent in Jay Sternberger. They brought back Evan Bayless from the practice squad. He will be competing for a job. I think, like I said, you have Mercedes Lewis and you have Jay Sternberger and you have Robert Tonyan. These 3 guys are more than enough than what you need for tight end. I don't think you need to carry 4 tight ends into the regular season next year. I think those 3 guys are more than enough of the talent that you want out of that pool. And quite frankly, it could even boil down to just 2 of those guys, and that would probably be perfectly fine. I mean, this is going to be a run-centered offense, but at the end of the day, you can implement someone like Danny Vitale a little bit more. You could scheme accordingly with your wide receivers playing inside a little bit more in the slot to accommodate for running game scenarios. So I don't think we need to address tight end. That's really at the bottom of my board. I think that we're fine at tight end. And I'm surprised it hasn't come up yet, but I am not on board with drafting a quarterback yet either. I think that we go ahead and ride out Tim Boyle for 1 more year, or whoever else they decide to sign for real cheap. I don't think you waste a draft pick on a quarterback. I think it's too soon. Yes, this was the same age. Rodgers is the same age as when we drafted or Brett Favre was the same age when we drafted Aaron Rodgers that Rodgers is now. If you guys can follow all that, what I'm saying is it's time to draft a quarterback, but I would not like to see us waste our draft pick on a quarterback. I think one thing that we will see in closing, one thing that we will see out of this offseason, the next couple weeks, it includes free agency and the draft and everything that goes with it. I think you're going to see a Packers organization, a Brian Gutekunst, and everyone in that organization going all in for the next couple seasons. And I think that they will be spending money. I think they will carry a tight cap space limit throughout the next couple years. I think that they know that Rodgers still has what it takes to be a Super Bowl winning quarterback, and they just need to get the pieces around them. And I think it's going to be another entertaining offseason as far as free agent acquisitions, and then possibly moving up in the draft board. If we're trading away draft picks to move up some spots to get players that we think will have impacts on our season, I think all of this stuff is going to be on the table. But we will dive into that more once free agency rolls around and once the draft definitely rolls around. I will be playing a more active role down that road. But that was my closing comment. I want to wrap up the video. 6 of you guys in the room right now. I think we capped out at about 10 or 11. I was a little bit surprised it was even that many, just given the fact that the season is over and some of the Green Bay hype has finally died. But yeah, I will comment on my video on Friday. I will be back next Monday night. It's always a joy to hang out with you guys and talk. It's been 40 minutes, and I'm going to wrap it up. So until next time, I will see you on the internet. Thanks for watching.